Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're immediately unpacking this huge data security settlement. It involves Cencora and the Lash Group.
That's right.
We want to quickly cover who was affected, what info got out, and crucially, how you might be able to claim part of that $40 million fund.
Yeah, and what's really striking here is just how sensitive the potential data exposure is.
How so?
Well, Cencora, which, used to be AmerisourceBergen, and its subsidiaries like Lash Group, they're big in pharma services, patient support programs.
Okay.
So that context really explains why this breach could include highly sensitive health data, not just the usual stuff like credit card numbers. It's potentially much more personal.
That depth of exposure, yeah, that must be why the settlement amount is so significant. So let's nail down the scope. What exactly are we talking about information-wise?
We're looking at quite a list. Names, addresses, birth dates.
Okay, the basics.
Right. But also social security numbers and, importantly, health information. Things like patient support program data, prescription details maybe.
Right.
And potentially financial details too. So yeah, this wasn't a minor blip.
Definitely not. So eligibility, who can actually make a claim here?
Okay, so based on the documents, you need to be a U.S. resident.
Right.
And either your information was involved in this incident, or maybe you got a formal notice in the mail or email about it. Or even if you didn't get a notice, if you noticed some kind of suspicious activity related to your info, starting around September 4th, 2025. That's kind of the key date marker.
Gotcha. September 4th. Are there any exclusions, people who can't claim?
Yeah, just a couple of specific groups. Basically, executives at Cencora and related companies, and also the judges involved in overseeing the settlement case itself.
Makes sense. A pretty broad eligibility otherwise.
If you meet those criteria and aren't an exec or judge, you're likely part of the class, yes.
Okay, let's get to the main event for many listeners.
Yeah.
The cash. That $40 million, how does someone actually tap into that? Sounds like there are two ways.
Exactly. Two main paths to getting a payout.
Okay, lay out the first one.
So, path number one is what they call the documented loss payment. This is if you actually had out-of-pocket expenses because of this breach.
Like what kind of expenses?
Things like identity theft recovery costs. Maybe you paid for credit monitoring yourself beyond what Cencora might have offered, professional fees, that sort of thing. Unreimbursed costs.
And how can you get there?
You can claim up to $5,000, but, and this is important, the actual amount you get might be less. It depends on the total number of valid documented loss claims filed.
So that $5 K is a ceiling, not a guarantee.
Precisely. And if your documented claim isn't fully approved or is incomplete, it might get converted into the second type of payment instead.
Okay, so what is that second type? That sounds like the simpler option, maybe?
That's the cash fund payment.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's definitely simpler because it requires no proof of specific loss.
No receipts, no documentation needed.
Nope. You just need to attest that you were impacted. But the trade-off is the payout amount is less certain. Well, this payment comes from whatever is left in the $40 million fund after they pay out all the legal fees, the administration costs, and all those approved documented loss claims up to $5,000.
So the actual amount per person could vary quite a bit. It could be small.
It could be, yes. It really depends on how many people file claims overall and how much is claimed under the documented loss path. But the key thing, the absolute critical point for either path.
What's that?
You must submit a claim form. There's no automatic payout. You have to actively file to get anything at all.
Right. Okay. Crucial step. That leads us perfectly into deadlines.
Yeah.
What dates do people need to circle on their calendars?
Okay, couple of key ones. First, if you don't like the settlement terms, or if you want to keep your right to maybe sue Cencora separately later on.
You want to opt out.
Exactly. Or object. The deadline for doing that is December 18th, 2025.
December 18th to opt out or object. Got it.
And it's worth remembering, this settlement is court approved, it's legitimate, but your legal rights are affected whether you file a claim, opt out, or do nothing at all.
How so? If you do nothing?
If you do nothing and you don't opt out by that December 18th deadline, you're generally bound by the settlement terms. You give up your right to sue later for this specific incident.
Okay. That's a really important point. So December 18th to opt out. What's the deadline for actually submitting a claim for payment?
That crucial deadline, the one for getting your claim form in for either the documented loss or the cash fund payment, is January 19th, 2026.
January 19th, 2026. Don't miss that one if you want a potential payout.
Definitely mark that one down.
Yeah.
There's also a final approval hearing scheduled for February 5th, 2026, but attending that is optional for class members.
Okay, optional hearing. So let's quickly recap the takeaway here. What does this all boil down to?
Check your eligibility. Think about that September 4th, 2025 date.
Right. See if you got a notice or had weird activity since then.
Then figure out if you have actual documented losses you could claim up to that $5,000 ceiling.
Or if you just want to go for the simpler cash fund payment.
Exactly. And most importantly, remember that claim deadline, January 19th, 2026. You absolutely have to submit the form by then.
Get that form submitted. Clear steps.
But there's one more thing to maybe think about, a final thought, perhaps.
Go on.
Given that, as we said, your legal rights are affected no matter what, it raises an interesting question. Before you just file for that potentially small cash fund payment,
Yeah.
really consider what future rights you might be giving up. If your identity gets seriously compromised, say 5 years down the line traced back to this breach, you likely won't be able to sue Cencora if you didn't opt out.
Oh.
So that December 18th, 2025 opt-out deadline, that's your only real chance to preserve the right to potentially take future legal action if things turn out to be much worse for you personally later on. Something to weigh carefully.
That's a very provocative point. Something for everyone potentially affected to really consider before that December deadline. Food for thought.